$800 buys you a tent that leaks. Here's proof. Most people shopping for a backpacking tent in 2026 are about to overpay for floor space they'll never use and underpay on the one spec that actually keeps them dry. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 3 tents are worth your money this year, which tier each one lives in, and the single number that separates a tent you'll keep for a decade from one you'll rage sell on Reddit in 6 months. If you've ever zipped into a tent and felt a cold drop hit your face at 2 a.m., hit that like button now because this one's for you. Here's what nobody tells you. You spend the money, you carry the weight up the mountain, and the first real storm shows you the seams weren't taped where it counts. Then you find out the 2-person tent you bought fits 2 people, only if both of them are okay touching shoulders all night and storing their boots outside in the rain. And the worst part, the regret hits at the exact moment you can't fix it. Midnight, 10 miles in, condensation raining down on your face because the tent has one vent and the manufacturer knew it. So here's how we built this list. And it is not, I camped in these once. We analyzed community data from our ultralight, our backpacking, our camping, and our hiking across more than 300 threads from the past 12 months, pulling every recurring complaint and every repeat recommendation. We cross-reference that against published manufacturer spec sheets, trail weight, floor area, peak height, denier, and hydrostatic head ratings. The pattern that emerges across thousands of comments is brutally consistent. The community does not argue about brand loyalty. It argues about 3 numbers: weight, livability, and whether the thing actually sheds water. That's the tier list. Let's build it. S tier, Big Agnes Copper Spur HV UL2. Verdict first. If you want one tent that does almost everything well and you don't want to overthink it, this is the one to buy. It is the most recommended freestanding ultralight tent in our backpacking community threads. And the reason is consistency, not hype. 3 data points. 1. Trail weight lands around 3 pounds 1 ounce for a 2-person freestanding tent. That's genuinely light for a tent with 2 doors and 2 vestibules per Big Agnes spec sheets. 2. It uses a high-volume hub architecture that pushes the walls more vertical, so the 29 square feet of floor actually feels usable instead of coffin-shaped. This HV geometry is the single most praised feature in community threads. 3. Dual vestibules give you roughly 18 square feet of covered gear storage, which is the spec that ends the "where do my boots go" argument permanently. Who this is for? The backpacker who wants one tent for 90% of 3-season trips and is willing to pay a premium, typically $500 to $550, for the freestanding convenience of pitching it on a tent pad, a wood platform, or solid rock without needing perfect stakes. Who should skip it? Graham counters chasing the absolute lightest setup and anyone who's hard on gear. The most repeated complaint in community data is durability. The ultralight fabric is thin, and people who pitch carelessly report floor and pole stress over time. Treat it gently and it lasts. Throw it in a truck bed and it won't. A tier, MSR Hubba. Verdict first. If you camp in genuinely bad weather and you want the tent that survives the storm Reddit keeps posting horror stories about, this is your tent. It trades a few grams of, quote, lightest possible for a build that the community consistently calls the most weather confident in this price class. 3 data points. 1. Trail weight sits around 3 pounds 4 ounces, a few ounces heavier than the Copper Spur, and that weight is the bathtub floor and the burlier pole structure. 2. The Rainfly uses MSR's Extreme Shield waterproof coating, which is the spec community threads point to when they explain why Hubba flies hold up over multiple seasons instead of delaminating after one. 3. The symmetrical, near freestanding geometry pitches fast and stays taut in wind. The most cited reason experienced backpackers in our ultralight keep one in the closet even after going lighter. Who this is for? The shoulder season and alpine camper, the person whose trips include real rain and real wind, and anyone who'd rather carry 3 extra ounces than gamble on staying dry. Who should skip it? Ounce counters on a strict budget and fair weather summer campers who never see a serious storm. you're paying for weather protection you won't use. Quick one before the third tent, and I'm only doing this because the comments asked. I put together the exact beginner's gear list I wish someone handed me before my first trip. What to buy first, what to skip, and the order to buy it in so you don't blow your budget on the wrong thing. It's free. It's at gearmadesimple.com/kit. Links in the description. Grab it so you're not taking notes off this screen. B tier, NEMO Hornet. Verdict first. If your single goal is to carry the least possible weight and you'll sacrifice some livability to get there, the Hornet earns its spot. But understand exactly what you're trading. This is the most debated tent on the list, and the community is genuinely split, which is the whole point. 3 data points. 1. Trail weight comes in around 2 pounds 6 ounces for the 2-person. That's the lightest tent on this list by a wide margin, and it's the number that gets it recommended in R Ultralight again and again. 2. That weight comes from a semi-freestanding design and a narrower floor, roughly 27.5 square feet that tapers hard at the foot, which is exactly the spec the critics point to when they say 2-person is really 1.5. 3. Single vestibule layouts on some configurations mean tighter gear storage. The most common complaint in community threads from people who expected copper spur livability at Hornet weight. Who this is for? The solo ultralight backpacker who wants 2-person headroom for 1, the thru hiker counting every gram, and the experienced camper who knows how to pitch a semi-freestanding tent properly. Who should skip it? 2 adults who actually need to sleep, 2 adults, beginners who want a forgiving pitch, and anyone who values elbow room over the lightest pack. You already know weight matters more than you wanted to admit when you're 10 miles in. You've probably noticed the cheap tents all brag about floor space and go quiet about hydrostatic head. And most people in your situation aren't actually choosing between brands. They're choosing between 3 trade-offs, and now you can see all 3 clearly. So here's the call. If you want one tent for almost everything, and you'll treat it with respect, get the Big Agnes Copper Spur HV-UL2. That's the S tier, do-it-all answer. If your trips include real weather and you want to stay dry when the forecast lies, get the MSR Hubba. That's the A tier bomb-proofing. And if you count every gram and you're camping mostly solo, get the NEMO Hornet and accept the livability trade. That's the B tier specialist. Premium tent pricing moves fast. These sit in the $400 to $550 range, depending on season, and the best prices vanish the second spring restocks sell through. Direct links to all 3 are in the description. 6 months from now, you're either dry, warm, and glad you chose on specs instead of marketing, or you're back on Reddit at midnight asking why your floor is wet. Choose the number, not the ad. That covers the tent. But here's the thing nobody warns you about. The tent isn't what makes you cold at night. It's the gap between your sleeping bag temperature rating and the lie printed on the tag. Next episode in the Grant Finally Goes Outside series, we're ripping apart sleeping bag comfort ratings and showing you the number manufacturers bury so you stop waking up shivering in a bag that promised 20 degrees. If this saved you from an $800 mistake, the like button is right there. Subscribe and you'll get that sleeping bag teardown the day it drops. The one that finally explains why your 20-degree bag feels like 40. And grab the free beginner's gear list at gearmadesimple.com/kit so you build your kit in the right order. Every full kit Saturday, we break down exactly what goes in the pack and what gets left behind. This was episode 1. See you on the trail. Part 1 of 1. Channel introduction block. Welcome to the Grant Finally Goes Outside series on Gear Made Simple, the channel where we test gear against community data and spec sheets instead of marketing copy, and tell you exactly what to buy and what to skip. No sponsorships dressed up as reviews, just the numbers and the verdict. If you're building a kit you can trust,